So I just wanted to show what I'm doing here as part of my winterization effort. So I wanted to rinse my tanks, but it's cold enough out here. I really didn't run an actual freshwater hose. I've already drained the gray and black tanks, just like I did in the previous video, so I'm not going to bother showing that again. What I am doing here is I'm running the pump, and I'm using the water tap here. It does have a vacuum breaker valve on it, so yeah, I know this may appear gross, but that vacuum breaker valve isn't going to allow black water to get back in. Plus, of course, I have positive pressure on this, and I just have a short hose connected to the rinse. I'm running the pump. I'm also running the Sanacon, and I'm flushing the tank this way. So I'm going to do the same with the gray water tank. I'm going to shut off the, I'll shut all of this off when I'm done and close everything down, just as if I had done a normal dump. So the only difference here is that I've added, a water input for flushing. So this technique, by the way, especially since I have, I had 55% fresh, I'm avoiding having to open up the low point drain here and dump all that water, onto my driveway and down the street. It's, we're about to have a blizzard followed by some really cold weather, and I didn't want to freeze up the road. So this is a great way for me to drain my tank basically through the Sanacon, out into the house. So still going. All right, I've flushed and emptied both tanks. A little bit of fresh water left. I was having trouble getting any water through the water pump at that point, so I'm not sure if that really is zero or not. So I opened up the low point drain. Then you can see the label for it. The lever is back behind that label, and you can hear the water dripping out. Incidentally, I forgot to mention on the first segment that when I first opened this up, you can see it's 35 degrees out here. I did hear the convector turn on, even though I have the Oasis off and the heat off. The residual warmth in the coolant behind this panel was enough for the system to think that it could turn the convector on and provide heat back here. So the Oasis, and by Oasis off I mean at the Silverleaf panel, I have the burner off, the AC off, and I have the heat off in all zones, but I do still have the Oasis on here at the panel. I will be turning that off momentarily as part of the winterization process. But so now that the rinsing is done, what I've done is I've hooked up my air compressor. I have the pressure regulated to a reasonable value. I'm just using an adapter to the inlet, so I'm going to use this to blow all the lines out. So here's the exterior shower. I cheated because I already had done this, but that's why it's already blowing air. So that's the cold side. I'm not going to do the hot side of any of these until I turn off the Oasis button. So that's what I'm going to do next. Then I'm going to open up, both of these lines. I'm going to open up that line, and while I'm out here with one of these lines open, I'm going to make sure that I run air through in all three modes of this. I'm going to make sure air runs through all of these vents. Sorry, just these two vents. And then I'll go inside, and of course I'll do the stuff in there. So that'll be the next segment. So what I'm going to do here, work around the snow. Okay, so we got a green light. So I wonder if this is a press and hold sort of situation. There we go. I will flip that domestic drain and drain the water. Actually, blow air through this. There is no bypass in here, so we will be filling this with antifreeze. But first I want to blow the water out, so I will be, one of the things that I will be opening as part of that will be the domestic drain. And I will also be making sure that antifreeze runs through that domestic drain. Anytime there's a valve, you'll want to make sure antifreeze has run through it before you close it off. With the air connected, I moved the compressor over here so I can plug it in to the plug that's normally reserved for the Dirt Devil. And I have the generator running because I made the mistake of disconnecting the power. You need the power to do the winterization because you got to run the washer, clothes washer, and the dishwasher. So I think that covers that. So I did open up that drain, domestic drain that's back there, and heard air running through. I want to actually do that just so I can demonstrate. So kind of reach back in here. Probably can't really get this on video, can I? Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a well-labeled domestic drain valve. Open it. So obviously you can see it's running air. Opened up the filter, removed the filter, ran air through that, ran air through the low point drains. I did all of that, so you know you'll want to leave something open and do that with city override and auto, and you'll also want to close that off with this in auto. You'll want to hit the fill and let it try to fill the tank with some air because there is a solenoid that this activates, so you want to make sure that you're going to be pumping air and then antifreeze through that eventually. And then you'll go through and do a manual fill. Again, that's just to make sure that all positions of this valve get air, and we'll return that to auto override. Ran both of these, and we'll move inside. Before we move inside, this used to have antifreeze in it, but since I introduced water into the system, I need to make sure I have antifreeze all the way through. So there is a valve here, so you want to open that up. You'll also want to open this. Right, so now that line is clear and empty, full of air. We'll head inside. And of course, run the sink both hot, cold. We'll run the toilet so it can just press and hold the fill. Flush it. Run that sink, hot and cold. The shower is a little picky about air. Doesn't really run a lot through it, but that'll be better once we run some antifreeze through it. And now the slightly trickier parts. So this is why, again, I'm running the generator. So I put this into rinse mode. Now that's okay to do because, at least on the 3343, I don't know how the water lines are set up on the 41. We'll see this line right here, which does have a cutoff back there, by the way, but this line right here is what goes to the dishwasher, and there's only one line, so it doesn't matter what mode I select over here, so long as it asks for water, it's going to go through this line, and it will flush it out, meaning this dishwasher has only hot water feeding it. So I selected rinse. I had already hit that, so it's normally 10 minutes, and I had run it. You'll hit now that I've paused it and restarted it, I'm not quite sure where I am. Yeah, it's not locked, so it's, well, let's press that again. It's locked, and now it's going to run, so you just need to be patient. and you'll hear water and then air blowing through that in a minute. And one thing I did to verify all of that too was, again, come back here and you can see, all sorts of air and water racing through the lines. So that's making some noise. And so when we do the antifreeze, we'll verify that that line is pink all the way through. So that'll take care of the dishwasher. I'll come back to the freezer in a sec. That might be a hard shot. We'll come on to the clothes washer. Let it sing to you. And we're going to make sure we're on a normal cycle. And we're running warm water so that we get both the hot and cold. Oh, there goes the dishwasher. Maybe you heard that on the camera. Anyway, we'll hit play. And the first thing you'll hear is some air. So the manual recommends running it for 2 minutes. So I'm gonna actually do that. And I'm not going to, well, maybe I will. I'll do a rinse cycle here, and that way I'll get as much water out of the tub as I can, and so that when I fill this with antifreeze, I'm putting a more concentrated set of antifreeze into the P-trap. So we'll let that go for a little bit. We're going to let the dishwasher kind of do the same thing, although I'm convinced that, it's full of air at this point. And here's one last trick. Now, all of the videos, save a couple that I have seen, tell you to hook up the freezer, turn it on, let it get the temperature, hook up your antifreeze, and then wait hours for it to start making pink ice cubes. So I am going to have a wonderful, super fast shortcut for that. There is a test button on the ice maker. So I've already run it, and you can see that there's a couple of cubes from the test that I did. I took the tub out to make it easier. So the ice maker here, there is a label here. The camera probably can't see it. I can't even physically see it, even with the flashlight. So there is a test switch. I think this says test switch right here. There's an arrow right here on my fingernail. So right there. There's kind of an opening all the way here, and my finger stops here, right where the test button is. So, if you go, actually you have to kind of feel for it. So you have to go back a little bit, and you'll feel a button, a round circular button. I'm kind of curious if I can get that on camera. Yeah, you'll see a button there. So you can hold that, and that will force the unit to go through a cycle. So you can see it doing its thing. It will dump whatever's in there. In my case, it's water, since I just did this and hasn't frozen yet. What's awesome about that is, as soon as that tray goes back into position, it's going to try and fill it. And it's air. Look at that. I have run air through the freezer, and I will be able to use that same technique to get antifreeze right through it. So you'll be able to quickly see antifreeze pouring through that. So of course, be prepared to clean that up. At this point, this guy's been running for a couple minutes. We're going to shut that off. We'll basically do all of this again, but with antifreeze. What's fascinating here is that the dishwasher has done nothing, so it's still sitting at 9 minutes. I haven't heard it make any more noises since that one more while I was doing the washing machine. So it's still locked. Oh, that's interesting. It just made another noise. That sounds like it's trying to fill. I missed it. Sounds like it's trying to fill. Anyway, I'm going to hit pause. That'll unlock the unit. So you know, we got a little water in here, and again, when we run the antifreeze through this, we'll verify there's some pink in here. So a quick side note here, I haven't done antifreeze yet. I came out here to disconnect the air line, and I mean, this reads 30, it's probably closer to 26 or something like that. I haven't checked an outdoor thermometer. This has been exposed, but probably not quite accurate in this position. Anyway, there's ice in here. Can't even get it out by tapping. This is frozen solid. This is frozen. You know, so having this sitting out, this is probably frozen, and I should probably not do that to the filter. I underestimated how quickly some of this stuff would freeze, and what I'm a little wary of now is that this is probably frozen. It's probably going to make it very hard to put away as well. The antifreeze is going to end up running through this. I hope that will help. But note to self, do this before it's actually cold outside, or do it faster, or don't take videos while doing it, that sort of thing. That said, you can see I've got 3 cans, 3 gallon jugs. I have 2 more because it's probably going to take more than 3, I'm guessing, but we'll see. So what we're going to do is we're going to uncap this, put it in the jug. We're going to you know, toggle this valve, toggle that valve, and then we're going to turn on the pump and then run all of the same you know, faucets, you know, basically everywhere water is going to flow through again. So we'll cover that again in the next segment, and what that's going to end up doing as a result is putting some antifreeze in the tanks. Then we'll dump the tanks again. That will get antifreeze through the Sanacon. That will get antifreeze into here. We'll take it from there. So I'm going to get this unplugged and into a jug, and I'm kind of running out of light here, so I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to not videotape all of the antifreeze that I run through here, but I'll take some highlights maybe after the fact if I have enough antifreeze left. So that will be that. Okay, so I've blown through all 5 gallons, and I wish I had a 6th. I may be all set, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to explicitly mention here is, remember when I flushed out the tanks, that meant putting water through these 2 inputs here. And that means, and I should have blown them out, I didn't, but I did put antifreeze through. So what I did was I opened those 2 valves, hooked that up to each one of these, turned on the pump with the antifreeze, you know, this tube was in the antifreeze, and ran it until I saw pink flowing through underneath, which meant that the rinse was going through the tanks and out with antifreeze. So those lines are now protected. I did run antifreeze through here. I have not done the Sanacon yet. Incidentally, I do have a checklist, I just haven't been using it. Too dark in here. You know, I did run this valve, and I ran the other valve that we saw earlier, so this is now pink. So that's all set. I'm not going to run this on the video, but you know, I ran that in both modes, and I didn't run, you know, just straight up cold and then turn it off and then run hot and turn it off. I left it on and articulated all the way through to make sure the entire valve was protected. Do the same thing for that valve. You know, ran the toilet, ran the shower. The manual says to clean up antifreeze in the tub here that could cause damage, so I will be doing that. Ran this through the rinse cycle. It sounds like it's, oh, there you go, looks like it's done. It was in the middle of draining, so you can see, there's pink in here, and because it drained it, that means the P-trap for this, well, actually, there's no P-trap dedicated to that. It runs through this P-trap, but it does mean that the line, the gray line here, has antifreeze in it. You'll notice this doesn't have antifreeze in it. It's because it ran dry. That's why I wanted the 6 gallon. But there was antifreeze in there, so I know I'm good there. I ran, oh shoot, let's go to the, I paused this, but I guess it resumed. You'll note there's plenty of antifreeze running in here, so what I'm going to do is, I'm actually not entirely sure how to, I may have to just shut this off and then do a spin. I've only used this unit once, so I'm still getting familiar with it. So we'll do a, whoops, program. We'll do a spin program, and we'll go. So with that, you'll notice what that's doing is draining all that antifreeze. So now this guy's P-trap is winterized. Got a fair amount of antifreeze in the gray tank now. So we'll let this do its thing. So this guy's now winterized. And the last thing I wanted to cover here, if I can get away, there's probably no pressure in here for me to do this, but what I did was I put this under here, I hit the test button, and it ran, and there's probably no way to see this on camera, but I see pink in the tray. So I'm actually going to just run this one more time to empty whatever's in the tray, since that may not be fully concentrated antifreeze, and I'm going to do it with, I need both hands, so I'm going to hold this up while it's running to catch the output. And that is going to cover winterizing the unit. I do have a little bit of antifreeze. I combined sort of the dredges of the other bottles into this one bottle, so that I can just pour it down the drains just to make sure there's plenty in the drains, although there probably is. What I may end up doing is filling that up a little bit more too, just to make sure there's plenty sitting there, and we'll call it a day. So I am not an expert. I have only done this once ever, and that's on this coach. So part of me wanted to just show this as a learning experience for you and for me, in case I missed something. Maybe one of my viewers will tell me, and if I do, I will make sure I make a comment about it or post another video or some such, so that you can benefit from my mistakes. All right, that's it. Bon voyage.